A little over a month ago, Force USA flew me out to their headquarters in Draper, Utah to allow me to shoot content on their brand new line of 3x3 products. And in that month, I posted a bunch of videos, and apparently they're popular because those particular videos that I shot at Force USA have almost 26,000 views and almost 600 comments. So needless to say that you guys liked them. And in that time, I've had an awful lot of really great conversations with you guys in those comment sections. So today on the podcast, what I want to talk about is, number one, I want to answer a lot of the most frequently asked questions about the Force USA products. These are going to apply not only to Force USA, but really to the garage gym space in general. So if you're looking to buy stuff in these categories for your garage gym, this podcast is going to be great for you. But also, those podcasts have kind of changed my mind on all three of those products. And that's what we're going to talk about today on the GymCrafter podcast. Welcome back to the GymCrafter podcast, everybody. My name is Tim. I am the head gym nerd here at GymCrafter.com, the website that I built to help ordinary folks like you and I build home and garage gyms that we absolutely love. And one of the things that I absolutely love about running GymCrafter for a living is all of the opportunities I've gotten to travel all over the place and see really cool stuff. Manufacturers have me out to their locations. I've gone out to different retail stores all over the place, Home Gym Con for a couple of years now. And one of the highlights out of all of those has been going to the Force USA headquarters. Not only are they great people, but really cool products. And one of those companies that I really like working with because they're like, hey, there's our stuff, shoot the videos. I hope they're good. So they don't care what I shoot. They just want honest reviews of their products, and that says a lot about them as a company. It says a lot about their products. But as thorough as I try to be when I'm out there, a couple of things happen. Number one is where normally for videos, I like to have stuff here in my gym and test it, and I only give you an initial impressions video, but then use it for 6 or 8 or 12 months, and then come back and give you a final review so you know how does it last and what do I really think about stuff. Well, when I go out to a showroom to shoot videos, I don't get that opportunity. I kind of have to jump in feet first. And these products, I didn't even know that they existed before I got there outside of the C20. For those of you who aren't aware of the products that I reviewed, they showed 3 new products in a 3x3 line. And that's their C20 all-in-one trainer, their FTR functional training rack, and then what they call their tandem tower, single tower unit. And I didn't, other than the C20, I didn't know those other 2 even existed before I got there. So it was kind of a surprise. And kind of tough to work out for a little bit and play with them and take a once around and get everything right and really form a good solid opinion. Well, the cool thing is that, unlike stuff that I have here in my gym, I have had a chance to talk to you guys with those almost 600 comments. To give you specific numbers, those videos have gotten 25,983 views and 556 comments. So I've had an awful lot of opportunity since I do respond to every comment on the channel. And thank you for that, by the way, not only for liking, subscribing, sharing, all of that stuff, which you should be doing right now, but also for commenting. I love talking to you guys for a bunch of different reasons. Number one, you give me perspective that I just don't have myself. You guys have different needs for your gyms. You guys have questions that I never would have thought of asking or looking for or measuring or checking. So I really have appreciated these conversations. In this particular case, your conversations have absolutely changed my mind on a bunch of different aspects of Force USA, these products, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm not only going to answer all these questions for you, and like I said in the intro, even if you're not looking for Force USA stuff, a lot of these questions, they apply to all of the garage gym space. We're going to talk about finish. We're going to talk about build quality. We're going to talk about tolerances. We're going to talk about tariffs. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff which you can apply to other stuff. I'm also going to be spending some time comparing these Force USA products to the products that you most ask me for a comparison to. For example, the Aries 2.0 that's sitting right behind me here. And look how cool that looks with my logo back there. For those of you watching on the video, I've got the whole assembly done. That was the finishing touch. That is a floor tile by my friend Ashton over at Freedom Fitness. If you're looking for flooring, there's no better place to do it. Code GC1, I'll put in the comments below, saves you some money on that. So if you're looking for flooring and you're looking for cool flooring that you can put branding on or put printing on, they are the way to go. But that's the tile behind me. So I even had to reframe the camera so that you could see it beside my head. But anyway, so we're going to get to these questions. And before I get to the actual questions, a couple of overarching things. Number one, a lot of the comments tend to be, well, that's stupid. Nobody's going to want that. Well, that's too expensive. Nobody's going to want that. Well, that's too tall. Nobody's going to want that. Well, that doesn't come with X. Nobody's going to want that. And while I understand that if it's too tall, if it's too expensive, if it doesn't come with the right accessories, that you don't want that, or the commenter doesn't want that, that doesn't mean that that product isn't right for other people. And one of the things that I've realized about all three of these products is there are customers out there, and there are garage gym owners out there who each one of these is perfect for. They're not perfect for everybody, and I don't think that they should be perfect for everybody. But boy, when they're right for you, they're right for you. So that's hopefully one of the things I'm going to help you narrow down today in this podcast. The other thing is related to that, which is just because something is right for one person doesn't mean that it's right for somebody else. So as you do your research and you see comments where one person says, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Well, while it might be the best thing since sliced bread for them, you might be a bagel person. So keep that in mind, that as we talk about what customers this is for, that will also mean that maybe it's not necessarily for you. And boy, is that going to relate to the first question, which is number one with a bullet, that I got asked about all the Force USA stuff. The way that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do the general questions first, and then I'm going to dig into each product. But the first question I got on all three products was, why is it so dang expensive? And when I was out there shooting the videos, we didn't know the pricing. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to give you the pricing. Now, I was able to give you the code to get 5% off any of the pricing once it popped up, and that is going to be in the description down below. And it is my obligatory time to tell you that these videos take a long time. This Force USA project has been the longest, most time-intensive project that I've ever done, the longest reviews I've ever done. And my intention in doing that is to help you guys. So if you feel that this content has helped you make a decision to purchase something from Force USA, not only should you use the link below because it will auto-populate a 5% off coupon over and above any sale pricing they might have going, even stuff that may be happening during the holidays. But it helps me out and offsets my time spent doing these videos, and it lets Force USA know that you appreciate the content and that it helps you, and then that lets them know that, hey, maybe we should bring Tim out again the next time we have new stuff. So with that said, let's get to the actual questions. And like I said, the first question is, why is this stuff so dang expensive? Now, some of the reasons I can't necessarily share with you in full because I did get some confidential information while I was out there. However, I do think that it's probably fair for me to say, and okay for me to say, that part of the pricing that you saw on these products is tariff related. And that doesn't mean that they're going to go down because tariffs go away. Like, there's a whole complex tariff landscape that I don't think any of us are really aware of unless you're in the manufacturing field. But let's just say that some of the pricing has to do with tariffs. But that said, even without that, these are expensive products. And I think it's really important to point out that Force USA isn't trying to be the least expensive product. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to offer three super high quality products. These three in their 3x3 line are a higher quality level than anything that they've released before. And that's saying a lot because their stuff before was really good. But this stuff is just on a whole nother level. And that requires a more intensive design process. That requires better materials. That requires better manufacturing processes, better quality control procedures, and it just requires better everything. Not to mention the accessories are better, the everything is just top tier in these three items, and they weren't trying to make the least expensive thing. Now, like I said, there's different customers for everything, and some customers out there are the customer for the least expensive thing. And I see a lot of those people commenting, why in the world would you spend that much money on this when you could get X for whatever? And it's like, in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, I could go out in the yard and lift a rock for free. Like, we're beyond that, right? Like, some of us want nice stuff. Some people want nicer stuff. And this nicer stuff isn't for everybody. That's not a good or a bad thing. That's just the way that it is. So yes, this is more expensive stuff. And I don't think that Force USA should apologize for it. They don't. I don't think I should make apologies on their behalf because there's no apologies necessary. This is nicer stuff and it comes with a correspondingly higher price tag. So why is this so expensive? Because it's expensive. It's nice stuff. It's top tier stuff. So I would put the quality of their stuff up against Rep and Rogue, at least this 3x3 line, as far as fit, finished. In fact, some of the things that we'll talk about are actually better. Like, there's some stuff on the C20 that's nicer than this Aries behind me, and I'll talk about that later on. But the price is warranted. That's kind of my shorter answer to that question. The next one is another price related question, is are the prices coming down for Black Friday? So let me first tell you what I know about the industry. Black Friday isn't going to be all that impressive from what I'm seeing. I've got access to most companies' Black Friday pricing. They send the YouTubers and the influencers, or whatever you want to call me, pricing typically about a month or a month and a half before Black Friday or Black November or whatever you want to call it. And I can tell you that most companies are going to disappoint you. Most companies are offering at most 10% off, a limited assortment of things. I haven't seen a single like, oh my gosh, beat down the door for that deal type of a thing yet. Not saying that those aren't going to be there, but just be ready that it's not going to be the vast savings, at least from what I'm seeing. I hope I'm wrong, but from what I'm seeing, I don't think there's going to be any earth-shattering deals. You know, you might find a couple of things that companies are heavy on that they just clear out. But for the most part, your nicer stuff, your big pieces that people wait for Black Friday to buy, I wouldn't expect more than 10%. So if that helps you make a decision whether to buy now or wait, or buy something different because you were hoping something might be 40% off, hopefully that helps. As far as Force USA, the only thing I know is rumors. The rumor is that they're not going to do anything for holidays. Now, that would be unlike them. They're usually running a sale of some type, so it wouldn't surprise me to see them give away weights or flooring or something like that with the, they were giving away an air bike last year. So they may run something like that. They may run a small percentage off. I don't know. So I'm not sure. What I do know for sure is that coupon code down below saves you 5% over and above whatever sales they do. But I have heard other YouTubers who I trust who have talked to Force USA say, if you're ready to buy one of these, buy them now, because the other thing that you're going to run into is this 3x3 is running out. So there's no reason to put something on sale if they're out of stock, which is why they may not be planning on a whole lot. But if you know what you want and you know it's in stock, if it was me, I would buy it now. So, but that's just me. So I don't like missing out. I hate to see you guys wait until Black Friday to see that not only is it not on sale, but you can't even get one. So there's hopefully the answer to that. I know that's not a ton of help, but hopefully it's as much as I got for you guys, right? And the next one question is this stuff made in China? And that's also why it may be out of stock, because when you order from China, you have to order whole containers full. And if you don't project your sales or the demand right, you end up running out before you can get more. So these things are very popular, and I think they're selling faster than Force USA had expected them to sell. So that might explain why they are running out. So yes, they're made in China. Try and keep some of these answers short for you and not make a 4-hour long podcast. But yeah, they're made in China. If that bothers you, don't buy them. I've had so many discussions about that with people. If it bothers you, don't buy them. Posting tons of political comments and conspiratorial comments about what it means for something to be made in China and whose jobs they're costing, and the government of China is controlling the government. I mean, these comments, I do delete a lot of those because this isn't a political channel, but wow, the tinfoil hats are aplenty out there, let me tell you. But the answer is yes, they're made in China. No, that doesn't mean that they're a poor quality, because most of the people typing, oh, that stuff made in China is a bunch of garbage, are typing it on an iPhone that was made in China. So take that for what it's worth. This stuff is really, really good. It's manufactured to very demanding specifications. The owner of Force USA goes over there personally to make sure things are going right on a regular basis. But yeah, they're made in China. If they weren't made in China, they'd be even more expensive. And my answer to question number one would be, they're expensive because they're made in the USA. So again, take that for what it's worth, but there you go for that question. The next one, which I was surprised, but I mentioned offhand on all three products that you're going to be able to do a belt squat on them. Basically, if you take the lever arms, not the lever arms, but the trolley arms, and kind of point them at each other and then point them down at the lowest position. They're pretty close together, and that will allow you to connect them together, kind of straddle them, and then use a belt. The C20 comes with a very minimal belt. It wasn't my favorite thing to use for this. You might want to get an actual belt squat belt to do this with, but you basically wrap it around and then you connect it to those trolleys, and then you can use the weight stacks to do belt squats on. I did try it. And what I'll tell you is it's okay. You can do it. A couple of things that you need to do. You need to stack some plates up so you've got some elevation under your feet, just because the distance of chain from your belt down to the connection to the trolley arms is kind of a little bit longer. The other thing I would tell you is it's a little bit awkward because you got to start at the bottom. And any of you who have used a belt squat where you start at the bottom, like for example, I have the Fringe Sport Mammoth belt squat, and they added a kickstand to that thing, which really just changes the whole product. before the kickstand, you kind of got to do this weird squat down thing. And then if you want to have a lot of depth, you've got to kind of squat down below what your normal depth is and then connect it. And then if there's a lot of weight on it, it's really hard getting in position. It's very awkward and it would make you not want to use it. So that's kind of how the belt squat's going to work on the C20, on the FTR, and on the tandem tower. So if the belt squat is a make it or break it feature for you, just know that you can do belt squats, but it's not the most ideal way to do them. It's kind of cool. Now they are coming out with a platform, so you don't have to stack up weights, and I don't know when that's going to be out, but they are coming out with an accessory specifically for the belt squat. Hopefully they come out with a better belt for it as well, and that may make things better, but just be aware that that's how it's going to work. So again, if the belt squat was the thing that's going to make or break your decision, it should probably break more of your decisions than make more of your decisions, but it's there if you need it. One of the next most popular questions is, how good is that sliding bench really? Because one of the benefits of the Force USA products, especially the Tandem Tower and the C20, it doesn't work with the FTR, is that you can use their sliding bench, which is patented in a bunch of different ways, and it allows you to install a plate to push your feet against, and you can do hack squats, you can do leg presses, you can do leg curls, leg extensions, you can do preacher curls. It's a cool multi-purpose bench. What I would tell you is, like all other multi-purpose benches, it is okay at all of those things. It is not as good as a standalone leg press. It is not as good as a standalone leg extension leg curl. It is not as good as a standalone preacher curl. But for those of you who are space constrained and you want to have a bench that does a whole bunch of stuff and is cable connected, it's pretty awesome. So I believe Garage Gym Reviews gave it most innovative product of the year this year. It's a really cool product. Again, I think there's some room for refinement, which will lead into the next question. But if that's something that, that's one of the things that when a lot of people say, why is it worth this? And one of the big differences is when you compare it to other things don't work with a sliding bench. So if you're looking to take this main unit and then also turn it into something that can do the leg press, leg extension, leg curl, and you don't have to have those machines in your gym, these are a really good way to go. The bench is a little bit on the expensive side. There's some tolerance issues with it. I won't say it's the tightest tolerances across the board, but overall, it's pretty dang awesome. And everybody that I've talked to who has one really, really likes it. So so the bench is actually pretty cool. So if that's a make it or break it thing, then that should probably make more of your purchases than break it. If you're between one of the Force USA products that is able to use that bench and then looking at something else that doesn't, and you like the idea of consolidating all of that stuff in one spot, the bench is pretty cool. The only thing I would tell you is the bench is really long. It's like 6 feet long. So it's kind of space saving in that you don't need to make room for other stuff, but it's kind of not space saving in it. It's like the biggest bench I've ever used. So hopefully that helps you out. The next question for that is, when is the new version of the bench coming out? And the answer is, I don't know. I tried to get it out of them. They have one in development. I do know that for sure. The sense that I got from them is that there isn't enough of a difference in the new one yet to warrant a new product. The old one is really good. So why iterate and bring out a new one when the old one is pretty dang good to start with? So I just think that they're going to wait until they've got enough changes to warrant actually bringing out a second bench. I don't think that they'll replace the old one. I don't think. I get the feeling that they want to do kind of a second one in their line. But again, I'm just guessing. But as far as when that's going to come out, I really don't know. The last bench question, which I also got a lot of, which is, how hard is it to set up? I would tell you the first 5 times you set it up, you're going to pinch your fingers a couple times. You're going to get frustrated a couple times. Me being in there, when I have trouble with stuff, I start sweating. The first couple times I hooked up that bench, I was just drenched in sweat. I had to actually stop and cool down before I shot the video on it. And if you look close, you'll see my shirt's a little wet in the bench portions. But it's one of those things that once you get used to it, it's kind of like the Freak Athlete. When I first got the Freak Athlete, it's like, which of these 17 knobs do I pull? Now I pull that thing out, I'm like, bang, 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 I'm done and I'm ready to go. It takes no time at all. The sliding bench is going to be the same thing. So if you don't like fiddling with things, if you don't like long setup time, there is a learning curve, but once you kind of get past that learning curve. It's actually relatively easy to set up and relatively straightforward and doesn't take very long at all. So hopefully that helps you with that question. This next one is not only a question I got on all of the Force USA products, it's a question I get multiple times on the Dane, which is right behind the camera, which I get on the Aries, which is right behind me here, which is what I get on the Bells of Steel cable tower, which is right over there. I get this question on every product that I review that has cables, which is how smooth are the cables? And I will tell you, they're all pretty darn smooth. You know, I think that there's been a lot overblown, especially on some YouTube channels where people will be like, this one's so incredibly smooth, it's the smoothest thing I've ever used. And that makes people think that for some reason that's, you know, miles better than everything else. Now I have used some cable stuff on cheaper stuff. Major Fitness, not smooth. RipFit, they could be smoother, right? So don't be fooled by, I've said this before and I'll keep saying it again, aluminum pulleys do not make things smooth or not smooth. It's got zero to do with how smooth your cable system is. The quality of the bearings, the diameter of the pulleys, the quality of the cable, the diameter of the cable jacket, how flexible the cable jacket is. Like there's a ton of stuff, guys, that goes into how smooth the cables are, and none of it has to do with the aluminum pulleys. So to answer your question on the Force USA stuff, super smooth as the Rep Aries behind me. The Dane is slightly less smooth because it's got a wider diameter cable, and you can kind of feel that pulling in the pulley sometimes. It's still very, very smooth, but you're not going to get any of the Force USA products and go, these aren't smooth. They're very, very smooth. The next one is on a feature that I showed on all of them, which is the Force USA have some unique features, and one of them is on their trolley arms, where you can actually pull the pop pin and lock it open so that the trolley arms swing freely left and right. And I had a lot of people ask, you know, that doesn't seem like a useful feature. And in fact, I think one of the commenters said, video on somebody using that or I don't believe it. So I kind of appreciate that comment a little bit. And while they haven't posted any video, I did use them when I'm there. I have talked to a couple other YouTubers who have used them and used them in that unlocked position where they're free floating. This is more for functional training type of stuff. This is more for kind of dynamic sports center type training. This is done for a couple of specific reasons. I would definitely use it. Would I use it a lot? No, but I would use it. And I do find myself wishing that some of my cable systems here had the ability to do that, because some of the movements I do, I'm moving around along with the cable. I'm not always stationary when I'm doing cable work. I'm taking a step, I'm taking two steps, especially when I'm training rotation and anti-rotation. So I liked having the cable arm that actually moved. It just made the exercise more comfortable. It really helped with the angle of the cable. It was nice to have. Is it a must-have? No. Is it a feature that I see a lot of other people doing? No. But boy, I think it's one of those things that once you figure out how it works for you, that you'll like having it. So is it a make or break feature? No, I wouldn't buy, you know, the Force USA over somebody else if the only difference you're considering is that. I don't think it's a decider. Now, as I keep saying, are these make or break things? I don't think any one of them is a make or break feature, but I think when you start adding these things together, and that's one of the things that I've tried to point out to some people about the Force USA stuff, is this particular feature make or break, or is this particular feature? No, but when you put them all together, it is. Kind of the preponderance of differences in the Force USA over a lot of other options make it worth that higher price point and make it right for a lot of customers who may not have thought about it in the first place. The next one is these guys didn't use powder coat. They use what they call electrostatic paint. So I had some people jump on and say that electrostatic paint won't hold up, especially in poor climates. I had other people jump on and say, oh, it's much more durable than powder coat. Internet scientists, I don't know who to believe. So I contacted Force USA and they said the only way that we're going to really know is once these are out in the field being used a lot and to see if there's any issues. They don't think there's going to be. That's why they used it. But until you actually use it for a long period of time, we won't really know. Now, that said, these demos that I used in the showroom had been used extensively and I didn't see any issues with the paint. So if you're concerned about the finish coming off, look, the finish is powder coat is going to come off the Dane in certain areas. It already has. The clear coat, the clear grind on my Rep unit behind me, some of it's already kind of wearing just a little bit where the trolley arms go up and down. So you're going to have that in anything. I don't think it's going to be an issue with this. And I would tell you that the electrostatic paint on the Force USA products is really super smooth. So instead of having to pay an upcharge for stainless steel uprights because they're smoother, or paying for this nice, beautiful, smooth finish that you get on the Rep stuff, that electrostatic paint is going to make the trolley arms slide up and down very, very smoothly. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. Now, speaking of the uprights, another question that I got is the sizing and spacing. So the uprights on the Force USA stuff are a true 3" by 3". They're not the metric equivalent. Force USA wanted to do two things specifically when they introduced this 3x3 line. Number one, they wanted it to be an actual 3x3 line. Number two, the distance between the uprights matches the distance between the uprights on Rogue products. They specifically wanted all of you guys out there who have Rogue accessories to be able to use them on the Force USA products. And I think that's huge. When I talked to Force USA about these products and about the development process, one of the things that really stuck out to me is how many times they said customers wanted this, so we put this in there. There's so many features, and that's one of them. True 3x3, and the spacing matches Rogue. A very common question is, which of these three should I get? I don't think that's a great question, I'll just be honest. These are three distinctly different products. You should get the one that meets your training needs, and that's always my answer to those. I don't think you should say, should I get an all-in-one trainer or should I get a tandem tower? Like, to me, it's like, should I get a banana or a car, right? It's just, they're two completely different things. And same thing with the functional trainer. If you're looking for a functional trainer, this functional trainer is awesome. If you're looking for an all-in-one with a Smith machine, the C20 is awesome. If you're looking for a single column cable tower, the tandem tower is awesome. I don't know that one is better for you than another unless you can really take a look at your training. My training in my gym needs this particular type of product, but it's not a matter of should I buy this or buy that when you look at those particular lineup of products. I had some installation questions on these. Number one, are they hard to put together? It took me a really long time to put together the areas behind me. I would imagine that the C20 and the FTR are probably the same. The tandem tower is probably a lot easier to put together, but anything that's got all these cables in it, and it's an all-day project. It's probably a two-person all-day project, so weigh the value of your time and how handy you are versus having their installation company do it. Now, I did have somebody on one of the comments say that, oh, the reason they're so hard to put together is because they're trying to trick you into buying their installation. They're not trying to hoodwink you into buying their installation. They offer installation as a courtesy. If you don't want to spend the time, again, two-person job, probably take you most of a day to put those products together. So that's the best answer that I can give you. In conjunction with that, I did have a lot of people ask, because these weight stacks are upgradable, how much of a pain it would be to upgrade the weight stacks. It's not bad. You've got to loosen the cables, probably disconnect one of the cables, and then you've got to take some little brackets off and then lean the poles forward and then put the new weight stacks on. It's not an all-day project. It's probably not even a two-person project, but I would guess it's going to take you an hour or two to put the weight stack upgrades in. So if it's worth it to you to not have to have that extra work down the road, order it with the upgrades up front. I would just tell you, if you're concerned and you're thinking you might want the upgrades or the heavier weight stacks, just order it with the heavier weight stacks up front, and you'll be happy you did. And there's just a one-time shot installation. And then if you do want to pay for installation, as a lot of you know who have followed the channel, I worked in corporate retail for 30 years. We sold nationwide. We constantly struggled finding quality nationwide installation companies. It doesn't matter who you pick, they're gonna have bad crews here and there. So while I would like to tell you that Force USA has picked the best one they can, and that a lot of people report having great experiences, there are also people who report having poor experiences, because you honestly, you're hard. If you're in the middle of nowhere and there's not a lot of crews to pick from, you kind of gotta, as an installation company, go, well, Joe Bob's Install Company is the only one within 500 miles of where you live, so you're getting Joe Bob whether you like it or not. And sometimes Joe Bob doesn't work out. Sometimes Joe Bob's awesome. Sometimes not so much. The one thing I can tell you is this is one of the reasons you buy from a company like Force USA versus a company like, for example, GetRx. And we're going to do some comparisons to GetRx. A lot of you asked about their new towers. I will tell you, having dealt with both companies, the customer service is okay with GetRx, but it's fantastic with Force USA. In fact, if you read through the comments of these videos, you'll see a very angry customer who was missing parts and decided to post all caps comments on every video. This is proof that I don't delete comments. And boy, were they mad. And I tried to kind of calm them down. And then you'll see in one of the threads, they didn't post it on all of them like they should have, but on one of them they said, oh, Force USA overnighted me the parts, walked me through everything over the phone. It was great, everything's done. So this is why you buy from a Force USA and not another company, so that if you do get Joe Bob and Joe Bob does a bad job, Force USA will help you through that process and take care of you. A couple other miscellaneous general questions. When will their new collars come out? I have a pair of their new collars. You don't want them as is. They damaged 2 of my barbells, just little things. That's why they're not sending them out, guys. They're fixing a problem. As soon as that problem is fixed, I'm sure that they'll send them out. But you don't want the current production versions because they may damage your barbell. So they won't damage all barbells, but they'll damage some, and they definitely put a couple of dings in mine. So that's the answer to that. So I don't expect them to release those collars until they have addressed that issue. I called them and sent them pictures immediately, and a collar that was supposed to have been out already is not out. I'm assuming that that's why. So that's the answer to that, is I don't know. But again, this is why we deal with companies like Force USA. Lots of other companies would just release that product and hope nobody notices. So I like the fact that they haven't released it yet, and hopefully they're fixing that issue. The other one is that a lot of you guys really liked 2 specific accessories on the C20 and the FTR. The pull-up solution, that are these kind of brackets that mount in the holes of your rack and kind of screw in with these big knurled nuts on the back. And then also the spotter arms with these knurled bars for a dip station. Both of those are awesome accessories. I have no idea when they're going to sell those separately. They did tell me they are going to sell all of those accessories separately, but for now, all the ones that they can get their hands on are actually going to be packaged in with the FTR and the C20. So that's the answer on those. And that, my friends, is all of the general questions that were asked more than a few times in the comment sections. Hopefully that answers the questions. If I missed a general overall Force USA question, please post it in the comments. Like I said, I do answer all the comments. I'm happy to answer that for you. If I don't know the answer, I know who to call. Now let's get on to each of the individual units, and I want to start with the tandem tower. The tandem tower, when I went out, if you watched my tandem tower review, I told you that of all the things that I looked at, I fell in love with that one. That's the one I want in my gym, and I really, really liked it. So let's see if I still feel that way, and also answer, this is the product that got the most questions too, believe it or not. So I want to answer the most common questions on the tandem tower and kind of tell you what I think of it now after talking to you guys and thinking about it for a month and a half. And the number one question and comment with a bullet was, hey, there's 2 uprights. If we link the 2 trolleys together so that I get a 1-to-1 feel weight, and you can have either a 200 or 250 pound stack on this. So for pull downs, you're gonna wanna do that. How do I mount a seat so that it's centered on that center mount pull down point? And that's something I hadn't thought of. Now, when I was there, I basically put a bench up to it, and I reached up and I did my pull downs and I did my rows, and it didn't bother me at all because I was sitting on a bench the whole time. At the time I was out there, I weighed about 240 pounds, and I don't need to weight myself down. So I was doing pull downs. I almost never use anything to hold myself down on pull downs. If I'm doing enough weight to where I need that, I'm typically doing pull ups and not pull downs. So for me, I never actually even test that stuff. So I didn't even think about people who might have like a Pegasus seat or some other type of seat, which gives them a seat, and then also the leg holders on there to lock you in and keep your knees down. The other thing is I don't necessarily like those seats that mount directly onto a post because sometimes they're too close. And the nice thing about these is with those arms that extend out, you can be a little bit back from that post and not be straddling the post. So long story short, I didn't even think about it until you guys started asking about it. Now that I think about it, it's kind of an issue. I really think that Force USA needs to come out with an adapter. Now, I've already got what the adapter should look like in my head. I think what they should do is they should take 2 pieces of 3x3 connected with a little spacer, and then you just mount that between the 2 posts, run these pegs through it, because it's already going to come with these 2 pegs for the foot post to lock it in. That's how the foot plate for the sliding bench mounts in. It mounts in with a piece of beam that goes between the 2 3x3 posts, and then you slot the plate into that. You could even probably come out with a seat that mounts in that foot plate bracket. So there's definitely the capability to do that, and I think enough of you brought it up. I would be shocked if Force USA doesn't come out with an adapter. The problem is that a lot of you won't buy it now because you've got a Pegasus, or you've got a seat from Bells of Steel, or you've got a seat from Rogue, or you've got accessories that you want to use, but those accessories need to be centered on the pull down point. And I totally get that. And the more I think about it, the more of an issue I think that is. So to answer that question, yeah, it's an issue for some people. It's going to be an issue actually for quite a few people. For me, I don't think it would be. I don't necessarily think that I would need to put a bunch of accessories on there. Again, just being able to put a bench up to it, to row, and then also to pull down. For me, that's fine, and for a lot of you, that'll be fine. But for those of you who have accessories, you're either going to want to wait for an adapter to come out or come out with kind of a DIY adapter. Again, I don't think it's going to be hard. It's one more step in the setup process, which is, if you watch the channel, you know I don't like, and I know a lot of you guys don't like. It should be super easy to set up, and to have to put an adapter in between might be a deal breaker for some people. So just keep that in mind. I don't know that they have a solution yet, but I would be shocked, like I said, if they weren't working on some accessories that mount center on that piece. So that's the by far the most commonly asked question I got was about how do you mount the seat or the accessories of leg holders when the posts are on either side and you're pulling from the center. So if you're pulling from just one of the posts and you're just using a 2-to-1, it's fine. But other than that, not so much. The next question was, what about cable length? Like the Bells of Steel tower, because when you pull both cables and you're getting a 1-to-1 feel weight, there's not a lot of cable travel. Now, I show in the tandem tower video that if I stand kind of pretty close to the tower itself, that I can do flies with my big old 6'6" arms, and it's not a problem. However, one of the things that I realized once I got the Aries in here, because these front trolleys are 2-to-1, is that while I can make my Dane, which is 1-to-1, the Dane and the tandem tower are very close to each other as far as how I have to set up so that I don't max out the cable travel. And while both of them work fine, like it's not that you can't do it, it's that you have to really be careful about where you set up. And if you don't set up in exactly the right spot, you may hit the end or may not get as much of a stretch as you want. Now, if you do set up in the right spot, plenty of stretch, plenty of room to get your arms together at the front of the unit. So that part's not an issue. But if you don't like being restricted like that, and like for the Aries, I like just being able to just kind of walk out in front in any old place and set up and do it and know that I'm not going to run out of cable travel. If that's you, the tandem tower may not be for you. If you like the tandem tower and you're wondering if you can and you don't mind setting up close to the post, then there's going to be plenty of cable travel for you. The next one kind of has to do with that with chest flies. Is with the cable tower works is there's the two uprights, and then you've got two of they call them freestyle trolley arms with the arms on them. And people are like, well, are those far enough apart? I'd like it if they were further apart. What I would say is kind of what I answered on a previous question, which is if you're looking for a functional trainer with a big, long, wide stretch, then you don't buy the tandem tower. Like that's not what that's for. With that said, I do flies on my Bells of Steel cable tower where the trolleys are 8 inches apart and get plenty of stretch. And the reason for that is that when you're doing flies, it's how far your elbows come back. And your elbows can come all the way back and get a stretch regardless of where your hands are. Your hands don't need to be way out to the sides to get a good stretch on a fly. Where the wider distance comes into play is actually when you're up front, because when you're up front, if the cables are pulling more out from your hands, then that's going to make that top end, that squeeze portion, feel more strenuous when your trolleys are further apart. Whereas when they're closer together, you get less of a squeeze out here because the cables are kind of pulling straight back. So hopefully I've done an okay job of explaining that. But the place where your muscle grows the most is actually in the stretch, which you can get from any of these cable systems. So if you're concerned about muscle growth and effectiveness, then you can definitely get a great stretch on the tandem tower, just like you can on their FTR, just like you can on their C20. It's that front portion that's going to be different from one to the next. But like I said, these aren't the same products. So it's unrealistic to expect a single cable tower to do what a functional trainer, which is much further apart, does. So kind of an unrealistic expectation. That's going to apply to the Phoenix Tower from GetRx as well. Those are going to come out. I think they come out a little bit further than the Tandem Tower does. However, we'll talk more about that in a second when I compare the two. The next question I got was on a feature that I really liked, which is the fact that the reason they do the Tandem Tower is that you can have one arm up high and one arm down low. You can have arms at different height. And when I was using it there, I really liked that. I liked being able to put them at different heights. I liked being able to superset curls and press downs. I liked, the thought of being able to have work for multiple people in the house. Although somebody did point out in the comments that multiple people can't use it at the same time because you're still sharing a weight stack, which I thought was a great observation. So maybe it's a little less useful for multiple people using it at the same time. You can set things up at the right height and then alternate, no problem, but using them at exactly the same time, not so much. After talking to you guys, I don't know that that's as big of a deal as I thought it was. It's still very cool. It's still something that I would absolutely use if it was here in the garage. I like that feature a lot. I like having the option of that feature. There's a bunch of stuff that I do where I would use that feature. But depending on how you train, you may or may not. So is that feature as earth-shattering as I made it out to be in that original video? I don't know. I don't. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I think this is one of those things where there's some customers and some users who are gonna be like, yep, that's really cool. That's why I want that. And there's other people who are gonna go, now that I think about it, I've never actually used that. So that's something to take into account if you're considering this versus other products. But I still think it's useful. I just think, like I said, I think it depends a lot on what your particular training needs are. The second one I got was, even though you can use a sliding bench with this, is the weight stack going to be heavy enough? And it's a 250-pound weight stack. And gee, I think a leg press, 250 pounds isn't enough. So for some of you, a leg press, 250 pounds isn't enough. Now, I would tell you that unlike a 45 degree, I think a lot of people are used to using a leg press where you sit in it. Keep in mind, when you put 250 pounds on that, it's not 250 pounds. It's like 60% of that. So keep in mind that when you do a cable connected leg press, 250 pounds on the stacks is 250 pounds to your legs. So it's a lot heavier than you think it would be. That said, it's not going to be heavy enough for some of you. So if you need a heavier leg press, then this isn't going to be the product for you, if that's what you're buying it for. Now for me, I would just go to single leg or go slower, right? Or use bands. There's a bunch of different things you can do to increase that resistance. Use a weight stack pin. There's definitely ways to address that, but is the bench super useful if you need a gigantic weight stack? No. Is it super useful for most regular average humans? Yeah, it'd work great for you. I think it'd work fantastic. I would definitely get the upgraded weight stack to 250, but I do think that the bench is decent for working out your legs for most people, especially considering that it also allows you to do leg extensions and leg curls, which you're probably never going to get all the way to the 250 for those. The second thing I'll say about the bench being useful is it takes something that a lot of people buy for space saving, being that you can even put it in a corner. It's a relatively small unit. That's why people buy single towers. And then you add a 6-foot bench to it, so all of a sudden it's not quite as space saving. So keep in mind that the usable space you'll need for that, even though you can move the bench out of the way when you're not using it, you are going to need to leave a decent amount of room, especially if you're doing leg extensions and leg curls. That protrudes even further than the 6 feet that the bench does. So you're talking a solid 8 feet out from the bench in order to functionally use the leg extension leg curl. So keep that in mind as you're budgeting for space if you're thinking about buying the tandem tower for space saving reasons. All right, let's do some quick comparisons. The first product that people wanted me to compare it to is the new Bells of Steel 3x3. Which one is better? So I've got some notes here on that. My biggest note is when you're comparing it versus the Bells of Steel 3x3, Bells of Steel is your get her done company. It's going to be a much lower price point. It's not going to be nearly as nice. The tolerances aren't going to be as good. The materials aren't going to be as good. The powder coat, the welds, the smoothness, the cables, the pulleys, like none of it. The cable capacity on the Bells of Steel is like 400 pounds, where it's like 2,000 pounds or something on the Force USA. It's a night and day difference in build quality, fit, finish, aesthetics, appearance, smoothness, all of that. That said, can you do the same exercises on both? Yes, you can. So again, if you're trying to decide between the two, your get her done versus kind of a premium option. The next difference is, and this is something that I was super impressed with, when I put this Aries together, one of the things that I expected from the Aries was that these trolleys would have no play. And they actually do. I was kind of disappointed in that. I thought they would be what the Force USA trolleys were. The Force USA trolleys, there is zero play in these things. They slide up and down so smoothly. There's no wobble, there's no rattle, there's no shake at all. And that is a huge difference between the Force USA products, not just this tandem tower versus the Bells of Steel, the tandem tower versus the Getter X, but all three of these 3x3 products versus virtually every, except for Rogue, versus every other manufacturer out there as far as the tolerances on their trolleys and that they move around. The trolleys on the Dane, there's tons of play in those. So I think that a lot of manufacturers, they just don't pay as much attention to that. And man, this Force USA stuff is awesome as far as that aspect goes. Another obvious difference between the Force USA and the Bells of Steel is the Bells of Steel just has the true trolleys. The Force USA has those extendable arms. That's definitely a big difference. I do like having those to add height, to get the trolley pull lower, to get your trolley pull out away from the central post. man, they're really nice to have. I think that we're probably not too far from a time where any cable machine that has a trolley on it is going to have those types of arms on it for the most part. So that's definitely a worthwhile difference between the Force and the Bells of Steel. Weight, the Bells of Steel is 210 pound stack, plus you can put weight horns on it, plus you can buy plate loaded if you want. So if you're trying to save money and you're really trying to do this on a budget, nothing beats, if you're on a budget, nothing beats the Bells of Steel plate-loaded cable towers. Just go with that. Don't think twice. If you're trying to save money and you don't want to spend over $1,000, over $2,000, that's a no-brainer to me. But to me, if you're looking at the Force USA, you're not trying to go cheap. You want a selectorized stack. So we've got 210 pounds plus a couple of weight horns on the Bells of Steel. You've got a 200-pound stack standard with the Force USA that's upgradable to 250, so you can get just more weight on the stack with the Force USA. I would tell you that, remember that you can use the bench, the sliding bench with the Force USA product, and I would also tell you that the Bells of Steel needs to be bolted to the ground or bolted to your wall. The Force USA, while they recommend bolting it to the ground, if you're careful, you don't necessarily need to do that. And I would say just overall stability, the stability on the Force USA product is much better than both the Bells of Steel and the Getter X piece. I think that stability-wise, Force USA wins on that. As far as price goes, you're looking at, for the 3x3 Bells of Steel, you're looking at $21.89 right now. That's as of today. Those things will change. And again, I'll put links to all this stuff down below so you can go check the current price and availability and things like that. Versus either $24.99 or $27.99 on the Force USA. It's not that big of a difference. It's only a few $100 difference. And if you use my code, the price actually goes down 5% to $23.75 to $26.50. So you're literally right there, a couple $100 difference. So to me, it's definitely worth the price difference as long as you don't mind some of the drawbacks that I mentioned earlier. As far as comparing it to the Getter X, the Phoenix, the arms are too heavy. So Getter X is coming out with a counterweight system specifically because the arms are too heavy. A single arm on a single upright is too heavy. Two arms on the upright is too heavy for most people. It's not going to be too heavy for everybody, but it's too heavy for most people, and it's cumbersome and it's hard to use, and I don't like using it because of that reason. I would absolutely buy the counterweight system, which all of a sudden you're at the price or above the price now of the Force USA product. So for me, I think the differences I mentioned, the fit and finish is much better on the Force USA. The tolerances are better. You've got both of them have the arms, but you don't have the ability to use the bench on the Getter X piece. In the end, I think you would like the Getter X piece outside of the weight of the arms. If you can get past that, it's a great piece. I don't want to knock that at all. We're not comparing good versus bad. So a lot of people are buying the Getter X stuff. They really like it. They were one of the first people to do arms like this. Actually, the arms on the C10 were the first ones to go left and right, at least in our market, whereas the Getter X were the first ones to kind of also go up and down. But now, like I said, you're going to see that everywhere. But those are kind of the differences. Oh, by the way, weight difference. The Getter X is a 200-pound stack again. The Force USA is a 200 or a 250-pound stack, so that may make a difference to some of you. Price-wise, you're at $2,049 for the Getter X Phoenix Tower versus the $23.75 to $26.50 if you want the higher weight stack. So there's actually a bigger price difference between the Getter X and the Force USA than there is the Bells of Steel. So for me, I would probably rank these, if I had to rank them, I would still rank the Force USA at the top, but the Getter X is a very, very, very close second, and then the Bells of Steel is kind of a third. Now, one deal breaker for you is if you are trying to reuse existing 3x3 attachments, please keep in mind that thing that I mentioned earlier about where the attachments attach on the Force USA product. That might make a huge difference to you. Now, after all that said, when I went in and I filmed the video, I made a point to tell you that I came to Force USA to look at the C20, but I fell in love with the tandem tower, and that's the one piece that I would want. It's not anymore. So, and I'll tell you why at the end of the video, but it's not the one that's my favorite out of the three anymore. And it's not one that I think I would bring into my gym at this particular time because of that center attached accessory stuff. So as much as I think some people will really like it, for me, after thinking about it a while, some of the shine of the, wow, that's really cool, look at that, I've never even thought that could exist, which was a lot of my impression there at Force USA. Some of that shine has worn off a little bit as I've talked to you guys about the usability of it, about how much you would actually use the different lever arms. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think it's in the top as far as choices for single towers for your gym, but as far as what my personal opinion goes, I came back, and just to be very transparent with you, Force USA was nice enough to offer me, they said, hey, if any of these 3x3 things you think you would like in your gym, we're happy to send you one. So I do have the opportunity to have any of them that I want. And if I reach out to them, I just, being honest with you guys, I won't reach out and ask for the tandem tower. I will ask for one of the other two, which I will tell you about here in a second. So with that said, let's get on to the FTR, the functional training rack. This one's really, really cool. So this one, to kind of give you guys, kind of fill it in, you're basically got a functional trainer. It's shaped kind of to fit into a corner, so it doesn't take up a ton of room. It's not super deep. It's very space saving. It's kind of like the Dane, but a better footprint. And then it's got a great 3x3 rack on the front that you can actually do barbell work on. The cables get out of the way, so you can functionally use this to bench, squat, all the stuff you would normally use a rack for. You do have to buy some extra accessories to do that, and the spotter arms and the J-cups. But I think that this thing is really awesome, and it's, to be honest with you, I like it more the more I talk to you guys about it. So let's get to the most commonly asked questions. First of all, the FTR does not have a center mount pull down or low row. I did mention in the video that the connection points when you lever the arms in are about 23 inches apart, which is the same width as a Darko lifting shorty bar, and you could just connect those no problem. But somebody asked me, hey, if you connect those, will you be able to get a good stretch? And I would tell you, yes, you can. Now, that's going to depend on how big of a chain of carabiners you use between that shorty arm and your attachments. I always recommend the swivel shackles. I've made tons of videos on them. I'll link them down below in the description. I've replaced, on all of my cable stuff, I put swivel shackles on. These things are awesome. They save space, they're easier to use. So I think that if you use the swivel shackle on that shorty bar and then connected your pull down attachment directly to that, I think you'll be fine. But yes, you can get a good stretch, and that is a great way to address wanting a center mount, both pull down and row. Second question, which I got a lot of, which is also a question on the C20, which is, can you get an incline bench in and do an incline press? As long as you don't have a gigantic bench, it should be fine. If you have the sliding bench, no problem, because it'll actually slide back in there. But yes, you can definitely do a 45-degree incline press. I don't know that you can do more, so if you're out there and you're doing a higher incline than that, maybe not. It might push you too far forward to the J-cups to safely get your bar off the J-cups. If you're using 45 degrees, you're going to be okay. If you're using 30 degrees, no problem. I almost never use anything other than 30 degrees, so that's fine for me. But for those of you that were wondering, yes, you can get a bench in there, and yes, you can do 45-degree incline bench presses. Next question, which I didn't even think about when I was there, and I think I answered this question wrong the first time it came up, which is, can you put weight storage posts on the FTR? And the answer is yes, you can. You can absolutely put weight storage posts on the back uprights of the unit. And the way that it's designed, you won't have any problem with depth because there's a little foot in the back. And I don't think the weights are going to protrude any further back than the foot on the back of the unit. So you are good putting weight plate storage on those uprights if you want to. And that makes total sense if you're buying it for a rack to want to keep it. And because it's angled towards the back, they're not going to add any width to the unit, which is actually a really, really cool feature. With other products like the Dane, for example, the weight storage poster on the back, but that makes the back of the thing pretty much as wide as a barbell. Whereas with this, it's going to be a narrower footprint for you. So it's a really cool option. And yes, you can store. So that was really the most common questions I got on the FTR. You guys actually generally liked it overall. I did get a lot of requests for comparisons. The first one is, hey, Tim, how do you think that compares to your Dane? I would tell you that after having the Dane for over 6 months now, at least, the Dane is still, for the price, the best option for people who want this format. If you want like a half rack with some cables and there's no center mount, lat, low row, but I would tell you that because of the 1-to-1 cable ratio, because of the weight stack, I would be perfectly happy with the Dane if I wanted to stay in the sub $3,000 price point category. If I want to stay $24.99, $27.99, something like that, I don't remember what it retails for right now. They've got it on sale an awful lot. But for the price, I think the Dane is a great option when you look at the size of the stacks on it and just all the stuff you get with it. I love it. I still use it all the time. Even with the Aries in here, I still find myself over on the Dane here and there. I actually like lifting with a barbell better on the Dane than I do the Aries, and I'll show you why when I do the comparison of the two. But I actually like barbell work on the Dane better than I like this thing. So take that for what it's worth, but I think the Dane is great for the money. That said, if you're not trying to spend as little as possible, the FTR is so much better. So I hate to talk up the Dane like that and then dump on it all in one breath, but I'm not dumping on it. It's awesome. But boy, is the FTR nice. It's so well designed. The cables are so smooth. You've got 2-to-1 ratio, so you can get out in front of it. You can get a 200, a 250, or a 300-pound weight stack, I believe. Check on their website for when you're building it, which one that is. But you can get plenty of weight on this thing. It's beautiful. It's well made. The fit and finish is fantastic. Those trolley arms slide up so smoothly. There's no play in them. I love having the arms to get you further out. I love having the arms so that if you decide to do your pull downs just on the post, that point of pull is above. Tricep pull downs is nice because you're out away from the rack. There's so many things on the FTR that are nicer than the Dane. As far as price goes, it is more expensive. You're looking at like $3,600 after my discount with the heavier weight stack in it. So it's considerably more expensive than the Dane. So again, if you're looking for bang for the buck, the Dane's the way to go. If you've got the budget, or if you need the space, that's a huge difference, then I think that the FTR is the way to go between those two. But again, bang for the buck. I'm going to speak highly about the Dane for a long time to come. I've had that thing for a while. I recommend it all the time. I have yet to have somebody get back to me after buying one and say, I regret my purchase. Everybody loves it. So again, if you want to save yourself almost $1,000, the Dane's a great way to go. The next comparison I get asked about is the FTR by Force USA versus the Athena from Rep. And what I would tell you is prices they're close enough to not matter, right? One's a couple $100 more than the other one, and depending on the build, that's going to change back and forth. I don't think you decide between those two based on price. To me, the FTR, if you're looking at the Athena, the benefit of the Athena is that it is a rack accessory, and you can change that rack down the road. If you decide you want to go to a 6-post rack, if you want to go to a deeper rack that you can lift inside of, if you want to go to a deeper rack and add on Smith machine, like it is expandable down the road. And that's why you would buy the Athena. The other thing is the colors. If you like going with, like, to me, this clear grind, as slick as the all black, all matte black is on the Force USA stuff, I absolutely love the black and clear grind that I got this Aries in. I think it just looks, when people walk in, it just looks sick. It looks so good. The FTR looks good too. It looks really high end. It looks really good. Personal preference, I like the ability to change the color. So if you like the ability to order a color that matches your gym, Rep is going to offer a whole lot more color options. You can pick different color uprights and cross members and all kinds of stuff. So if you like the expandability, you like the ability to customize colors and things like that, the Athena is probably going to be the right way to go. I think you can get a little bit more weight in the FTR than you can the Athena. Even if you buy upgraded weight stacks for the Athena, I don't think you can get as high as the FTR. On the other hand, if you're like, I just want to buy a functional trainer for my gym and live with the barbell every once in a while, man, the FTR is amazing. Like, it's so good. It looks, if my preferences for color weren't for the clear grind, like that's my second choice for color. If Rep eliminated clear grind tomorrow, I wouldn't buy any of the other colors. I would just get the FTR. So that kind of tells you where, in my mind, those colors rank. Is going to be different for you guys. But hopefully it helps you decide between them. They're pretty dang close. And I would also tell you that the trolleys on the Rep do have some movement, do have some play, whereas those trolleys on the FTR slide so nicely. I wish that I had one here to show you the difference. It's a big difference. So that's why I keep bringing it up. But that's those two. The last one is the comparison of the FTR versus the GetRx RX3 rack without a Smith machine. When you're looking at prices on those two, the GetRx runs $300 or $400 less than the Force USA. So for me, with the weight of the GetRx arms, with the kind of lack of some tolerances, with better customer service with Force USA. Again, you can definitely build onto those RX3s. They're made to be modular because they're much more of a standard rack and standard rack assembly. You may want to go with the GetRx for that. Outside of that, I actually like the Force USA better. So between those two, even though the Force USA is a few $100 more, if it was me spending the money and I didn't need the expandability of the RX3 stuff, I would probably stick with the FTR from Force USA. So how has my opinion changed? When I was there, I really liked it. I thought it was awesome. I think it was probably overall like, wow, I could see this being in the most people's gyms out of all three of those products, the C20, the FTR, and the Tandem Tower. I could see the FTR going in more people's gyms than those other two. I'm probably underestimating the sales numbers of the C20, but man, it's super nice. I see it fitting a lot of people's needs. It doesn't necessarily fit my needs, especially after having the Aries. I love having a center mount pull down and a center mount low row. I really have grown to like that. Even in just the week that I've had the Aries, it's just been a game changer for me to not have to do pull downs off of a post. I really like having that. However, I've been thinking a lot about putting together a video called My Dream Gym Build. Like if I was to empty everything out, quit YouTube, sell everything in here, and just build the gym that I want, I would put the FTR in here. And here's why. So the way that I would build my dream gym is I would put in a 6-post rack to lift in, just a plain rack, put some weight storage on it, and that's where I would lift. That's where I would do all of my barbell work. I wouldn't do it on the front of the FTR. I wouldn't do it on, something like the Aries. And then I would put two other things to complement it. I would put a functional trainer so that I could do the 2-to-1 with the wide stretch for the cables. And there's such a nice wide stretch on the FTR with those free motion arms that kind of go or freestyle arms that go all the way out. Plenty of weight stackability, fit and finish is fantastic. I really liked using it for that. And then I would buy like a lat low row, like the Trinity Tower from ATX or something like that, to where it's designed specifically, nice heavy 300-pound stack or something like that with a nice just a pull down and a row. I don't need like the rep one with the functional trainer in the front. I would want a dedicated. But for me, I think that would be my dream gym build. And when I look at which functional trainer I would put in my gym, it would definitely be the FTR by Force USA. So if you are looking for a functional trainer, I really think that Force USA has offered one of the best functional trainers that you can get, and also for the money, because it's not super expensive. So at least super expensive compared to other functional trainers. So that's kind of where I've landed on the FTR. Now let's go to what I went out there to shoot, which is the C20. And let's knock out a few questions. Number one, is the Smith machine counterbalanced? No, it is not. The weight of the bar is 35 pounds, and the weight capacity on the Smith machine bar is 770 pounds. I got those three questions a lot, so I wanted to knock those out. It's not counterbalanced, 35-pound bar, 770-pound capacity on the Smith machine bar, which is more than enough for most normal humans. Next one is, does it fit Rogue accessories? I already answered this. Yes, it does. The width between the uprights for the C20 and the size of the uprights, it works with Rogue accessories. And the number one accessory I got asked about is that padded bar that goes across between the uprights to lock your legs down, to do split squats on. It's just a nice leg roller. Rogue apparently makes the best one out there. I haven't really looked at it too closely, but a lot of you guys have it, and a lot of you guys want to use it on the C20. So yes, you can use that and any of your other Rogue accessories on there. Now, all right, within reason. So I don't think you're going to be able to put a drop-in Rhino in this thing. But for the most part, you're going to be able to put your seats and your rollers and all of that kind of stuff, your dip handles, your UDAs, all that stuff is going to work on the C20. Talk about the two most commonly requested comparisons that I was asked for. And I definitely got asked a little bit about the GetRx. I don't think there's any comparison. I think if you're between the GetRx and this, that's a no-brainer. The C20 with the sliding bench, with the weight stack weight, with the fit, the finish, everything's better about it. So if it was me and I was between those two, that to me is an easy choice. The next one is, I got asked a lot about that versus Jacked Up Fitness. So I'm going to answer that question this way. Jacked Up Fitness is now selling shake weights. That tells me everything I need to know about that company. So I'm not buying anything from the company that's trying to bring the shake weight back. Take that for what it's worth, but It's on the front page of their website last time I checked. So let's just stay away from them. They are guys, when people do that, they're clearly hurting for money. If they're hurting for money enough to try and sell you shake weights, they are hurting money enough to possibly go out of business soon. And I don't want you to have a product with a company that's not there to support you. They're not there to support you when they're open. They're definitely not going to be there to support you when they're closed. So that's what I got to say about that. The real comparison is between the C20 and the Aries that I'm sitting in front of. So what I would tell you is at this point, if you're looking at those two products, money isn't the issue for you. They're both expensive products. I think that what you want to look at, for me, the way I would look at it is kind of how I compared the Athena and the FTR. If you would like something that you can add on to, like I have the wall-mounted Aries, but I've thought about like, wow, this is really cool because someday if I change the gym around, I can turn this into a 6-post rack. I can add this the rack attached Smith machine if I want. I can do a bunch of stuff with this. I can build off to the sides like with these storage wings out here. There's a ton of stuff I can do with this. So when you pair that with the color options, if that's you, the Aries is probably a better bet. However, if you like the arms, if you like the fact that you can use it with the sliding bench and you don't want to build on it down the road, the C20 is a better bet. So the way that I would look at it is if you're a big gym nerd and you know that you're going to want to tinker down the road, the Aries may be the better bet. If you're not a big gym nerd and you just want to buy an awesome all-in-one, probably the best all-in-one you can buy, that's an all-in-one, then the C20 is by far your best choice of anything in the market. It's just to me, they're different customers. I don't see those two people being the same people. Maybe I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But to be honest with you, I don't think that the person who the Aries is right for I don't think the C20 is right for them, and I don't think the person the C20 is right for, I don't think the Aries is right for them. So if you just want to go buy a gym and you need everything in it, man, C20 is really awesome. And the prices aren't that far apart from each other. So again, I don't think it's a price difference thing. I really think that at that quality level, I'm not telling you to buy one or the other because of quality or fit or finish or anything like that. I really would look at, do you want the arms that go out wide? Do you want to be able to use it with the bench? And do you want to be able to customize? Like those are the things that I would look at when I'm deciding between those two products. Now, let me surprise everybody who watches this channel for more than just a few videos. As I mentioned before, Force USA was nice enough to say, hey, if you ever decide that you want one of these, we're happy to send one to you. Just let us know which one. I would pick the C20. So here's why. And I know that I've railed against Smith machines a lot, so let me explain myself. So number one, from a business perspective, I think that for video content that, I plan on shooting a lot of comparisons between this and the Dane. But I think that the next logical comparison for you guys and to help you spend your money, especially if you're spending that much money, would be to have this and the C20. I think that would be a really cool thing. And then possibly build this out with the add-on Smith machine. I've got some plans in my head that I think from a business perspective for the channel that the C20 would be a logical thing to put in here to help you guys make a good decision. So that said, I've been kind of rethinking Smith machines. So I still think they're a bad idea for the same reasons I thought they were a bad idea for before. So let me explain myself. I don't like Smith machines for the following reasons. They lock you into an unnatural movement pattern. Your body does not move in the same plane that the Smith machine moves. They tempt people to attempt PRs that they shouldn't be attempting, and those same people don't put the safeties up because they think they're going to be able to hook the hooks on, and people get hurt on Smith machines a lot. Mike Israetel on the Renaissance Periodization channel ranked the Smith machine as one of the most dangerous machines in the gym for that exact reason, because people try to do stupid stuff on them and try and set PRs because they don't need to use their stabilizer muscles, and they get injured all the time. Also, I like barbell work. I don't need a Smith machine, right? So for those reasons, I've always railed against Smith machines. With your help and with the conversation with you guys, what I've kind of come to realize is that just because you have a Smith machine doesn't mean you need to use it to squat, bench press, and deadlift on. I don't need to use it for those things I don't like it for. It actually has other uses, and my mind has always been closed to those other uses because I just rule it out off the top of my head. So, while I'm not a Smith machine convert, and I don't think I ever will be, I do think it might be neat to have one here to play with, to do some of the exercises that you guys have suggested. Things like split squats with the Smith machine, I think, are an interesting exercise variation where I maybe want to take the stabilizing and the balance out of the equation. I think calf raises are a great use for a Smith machine. I think that there's quite a few uses for the Smith machine that I wasn't thinking about. Now, I wouldn't bring a Smith in as my main barbell, right? I won't ever use it to replace. I won't do bench presses on it. I won't do overhead presses on it. I won't do squats on it. I will only use it for accessory stuff. But I think it has some interesting uses for accessory movements. Now go ahead and flame me in the comments because I've spent the last however many years on this channel telling everybody to stay away from Smith machines. And now I've just said that if I bring a Force USA piece in here, I would bring, not only would I bring the C20, but I would bring it in partially because it's got a Smith machine. So give me a bunch of crap down there. I can take it. I'm a big boy. I understand. You would not believe what a mentally painful and challenging change of opinion this has been, but it's thanks to you guys in the comments. And this is why I answer your comments. This is why I love when you post stuff down there. Even though sometimes my answers sometimes might seem like I'm pushing back kind of hard, I do listen to you. I do think a lot about what you guys say, and I do value what you guys say because a lot of you guys are smart people, so I appreciate that. So if you do see one of those Force, and it's not a for sure thing, things change a lot. People offer to send me stuff all the time, and that may never happen. But if I do get the opportunity and all the stars align, of the three pieces, I would have Force USA send me the C20. So take that for what it's worth if you're making your decisions and things like that. So I didn't think I was going to make another over hour-long video on Force USA stuff, but here we are. I had one of the comments comment, this guy's just become the Force USA channel, and there was a bunch of people talking about how I'm now a shill for Force USA, which I'm not. Still use my link, but I figured with all the questions and with how my thinking has changed, I wanted to share that with you guys on a podcast. Hopefully it's an interesting podcast for you. I appreciate you guys listening till now, especially if you've listened to now, because I talked really fast this time trying to keep the time down, and I'm sure that didn't come across great. But anyway, thanks again for listening. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate you guys hanging in there till now. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff if you haven't done that yet. If you do your shopping on Black Friday or during the holidays, I have a page linked down below to all of my affiliate programs on the website. So I definitely appreciate if you think this channel is helpful, if you think these podcasts are helpful. I make an awful lot of videos that have nothing to do with you guys buying through a link. So when it comes time of year for you guys to buy through a link, if you do happen to appreciate the channel, I would appreciate you guys for shopping through those links. And with all of that said, with my voice getting hoarse, I'm going to end this podcast. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. And until next time, I'm Tim, the GymCrafter.